Alright, we're going to start off this video with a quick pop quiz. So you can see these charts are based on the percent change over time. And for the first 4 of these, I just simply want you to tell me if you think there's been impermanent loss or not. And then for question 5, I want you to tell me out of these 4 graphs, which one has the most impermanent loss. So before we go any further in this video, put your answers in the comment down below and don't look at anyone else's answers. We're going to get back to this a little later in the video. So impermanent loss is something that seems to be confusing a lot of people. By the end of this video, I promise you, you are going to understand impermanent loss a lot better if you feel like you're a little confused right now. I'm going to be showing examples of ILV and ETH in the Sushi Liquidity pool in the Illuvium protocol, but this is going to apply to no matter what liquidity pool you go into. And if you are in the Illuvium community and you're wondering if staking in that SLP pool is still a good deal, and I think I can make a very good case for why it is. So first, let's check this out. I found this website that will show you the impermanent loss percentage. In here, I have an example of ETH and ILV. You can put whatever percentage you think you're going to go up. If Ethereum is going to go up 500% and you think ILV is going to go up 2,000%, it shows you right there with the impermanent losses. You can even go negative. So say you think ETH is going to go down 75% and ILV is going to go down 95%, that there's a 25% impermanent loss there. The reason why it's called impermanent loss and not permanent loss is because you only realize those losses if you pull your liquidity out of the pool. So using the example of the ILV and ETH Sushi Liquidity pool, we're going to go through 3 different scenarios. Basically a flat or a stagnant scenario, a bull market scenario, and a bear market scenario. A couple notes to keep in mind. The rewards are probably the toughest thing to calculate in here, but how I'm doing it is what I expect the average APY to be over the course of a year, multiplied by the end liquidity pool value, divided by the ILV price, multiplied by the end ILV price. I know that sounds confusing. It's not a perfect model. One of the reasons why it's not a perfect model is that it assumes a linear price change. What I mean by that is that if you look at this graph, the start point and the end point are the same for all 4 of these scenarios. With the blue line, you can have a quick spike up and then have it go flat. The red line, it can go flat, stay low, spike up towards the end. The yellow line can be up and down the whole time. But in my calculations, the easiest way I could do it is just to assume that the prices are on this linear white line. So again, the rewards are not going to be perfect, but it's a good average estimate. Also for notes here, keep in mind that the rewards are in ILV, and when you claim them, they are locked up for a year. And it is important that it is in ILV, because most people, when they're concerned about impermanent loss for this particular pool, they expect ILV to outperform Ethereum. So if the rewards happen to be in Ethereum, then I don't think the rewards would make up for the impermanent loss. But because all rewards are in ILV, I'll show you how impermanent loss isn't the biggest thing you need to be worrying about. This is not taking into consideration revenue distribution. So anything you see here that's based on getting into the staking protocol, know that you can be making even more of a return when it comes to Rev Dis, but I'm not even doing those calculations right now. Keep in mind, when you do have it staked in the SLP pool, it is locked up, and my calculations are going to be assuming you're locking up for the maximum of 1 year. And there is another scenario where you lock up just ILV, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video because it's only a 5% APY on that. So how we're going to figure this out is we have the 3 scenarios: the stagnant, the bull market, the bear market, and 3 options that you could do with your money. We're going to assume you have $10,000 and that's it. You're either going to stake the $10,000 in the SLP pool, so it would be 5,000 ILV and 5,000 ETH, or you're just going to hold on to coins in your wallet, 5,000 ILV and 5,000 ETH. And the third option is you're holding all 10,000 of that in ILV just in your wallet. And the reason I'm doing it this way is that when you're talking about impermanent loss, you're really comparing it to what your coins would have done if they weren't staked in the liquidity pool. So for a stagnant price, I already have this set right here. Right now at the time of this recording, ILV is about $75, ETH is about $1,600. We're going to say through the course of the year, we have the same prices. Because the price doesn't change, it's 0% impermanent loss. And the staking pool right now is about 75%, but I'm putting a number in here to represent the average percent return over the course of the year. So if it starts at 75% and it goes down to about 45% by the end of the year, throughout the year you make an average return of 60% on that. So if you stake this in the SLP pool, your stake is going to remain 10,000 at the end, and you will have made 6,000 in ILV. So you would have a total of $16,000. So we'll put that in there. Now, for this second one, if you just held the ILV in ETH, you'd have the 10,000, and also if you just held all in ILV, you have the 10,000, because we're assuming the price isn't changing here. So in this scenario, if you think things are going to stay stagnant, it's better to have this $10,000 staked in the SLP pool. Now for the bull market. For this bull and bear scenario, we're going to go with current prices versus all-time highs for these two coins. So in this bull market scenario, we're going to say we go back up to about $1,900, which is about where we were at the peak of the last market. And for Ethereum, we're going to go up to about 4,800. How I'm getting the impermanent losses with that calculator, but I already took a screenshot down here. So we're looking at about 200% versus about 2,400% for ILV, which is about a 38% impermanent loss. Now these numbers, I wasn't going into the decimal points, but this is also showing that when I do the bull case and the bear case, it's actually the same amount of impermanent loss up or down. So for these next two scenarios, we're going with about 38% impermanent loss. So we'll put the impermanent loss in here at 38%. And then now we can go down into this first one right here. So what we're doing is we're taking what the total value of both of those coins would be and subtracting the 38% impermanent loss. So if there was no impermanent loss, we would be at 141,000. Now if you subtract 38% of that, we're at about 88,000. If we're looking at a 60% return on that 88,000, we're looking at about 52,000 in rewards. But keep in mind that all of those rewards are in ILV and not 50-50 ILV ETH. So you're looking at a total of 189,000. 189K. So now if you just held half of that in ILV and half of that in ETH in your wallet for that year, you'd end up with the 141K. And then if you held all of that just in ILV, you'll actually end up with about 253K. So this right here is why you'll see some people probably in the comments here and in comments in other videos that will say going into the SLP pool is not a good move because they expect ILV to significantly outperform Ethereum. And in this particular situation, they would be correct. If you think a year from now, ILV is going to go up 2,400% and Ethereum's only going to go up 200%, then yeah, you might want to just hold it all in ILV. But let's take a look at the bear case right now. So now we're just going to switch these numbers. So we're going to say we're at the peak of the market at 1,900 and we're going down to $75. Peak of the market for ETH, we're at 48 and we're going down to the current 16. Again, it's still that same impermanent loss, the same average returns we're looking at for the SLP pool. So staking it, you're going to end up with a total of about $1,200. Doesn't look good, but think about this as going through a bad bear market. So we're at $1,200 right there. Now, if you just held ILV and ETH in your wallet without staking it, then you would have actually ended up with $1,800. And here's where the big problem is. If you just held that all in ILV, like those really bullish people are saying that you should do, in this scenario, you're down to $400. So the way I like to see it, when you're in the SLP pool, you're really limiting your risk. Because yes, if ILV just completely goes to the moon, you probably would have made more money just holding ILV. But you have to look at it both scenarios. No one knows whether it's going up or down. And if the coins go down, ILV is going to outpace Ethereum to the downside just as much as it could to the upside. And if things don't go your way, you could be down a lot more by just holding ILV. So holding both ILV and ETH limits your risk. And if you hold that in the Sushi Liquidity pool, you're limiting your risk to the downside, but you're also accumulating rewards as you go. And like I said, those rewards are in ILV. So say we're in a situation like we've just been in the past year. I've been staked in that Sushi Liquidity pool. Everything has gone down quite a bit. But I've been accumulating rewards in ILV this whole time. So the next time we spike back up and go into a bull market, yes, maybe my holdings in this Sushi Liquidity pool don't go up as much as it would if I just held ILV, but all of my rewards are also in ILV, so the rewards are taking full advantage of the ILV price change. All right, so let's go back to the little pop quiz we had before. So number one, if you said no impermanent loss, you are correct. Because even though in this situation, if we're assuming the purple is ILV and the blue is Ethereum, ILV went up and came back down to its same percentage. Ethereum went down, came back to its same percentage. So if you had pulled out your stake at any point in the middle, there would have been impermanent loss. But if you waited to the end and pulled it out, since those lines are touching right at the end here, that means there's no impermanent loss. And so that also means scenario number 2, because they're always starting 50-50 over here, and they end at the same price, it doesn't matter what happens through here. If they're ending at the same price, there's no impermanent loss. Now in this scenario, there is total loss, because you can see both of them dropped in percentage. So your total value of the SLP pool is going to go down, but technically there's no impermanent loss. In both 3 and 4, there is permanent loss. So even though both of these coins went up in percentage, because this point and this point are not touching, there is impermanent loss. Same scenario over here. Since they didn't finish at the same percentage, there is impermanent loss. Now for that final question, which one had more impermanent loss? So now we're looking at 3 versus 4. Now this is where I think it could be a little tricky for somebody, because number 4 here is going to have more total loss in value, but technically number 3 is going to be the one that has more impermanent loss. And that's because the distance between these two percentages is larger than it is right here. So the answer to number 5 is chart 3, even though it's going to have a higher total value than chart 4. Now, I know this can be a little confusing. It took a while for me to really figure this all out. I hope I explained it well, but the key takeaways is that when you're in the SLP pool, you're limiting your risk to the downside while accumulating rewards in ILV. Those accumulated rewards will also get revenue distribution. And do me a big favor. If this helped you understand what impermanent loss is and how liquidity pools work, then leave me a comment, like this video, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.